Ladies and gentlemen, this is Internet Personality Vangelus here with review number 69. Here at Vangelus Central, we wanted to do something special for that remarkable Urban Dictionary number. So we've decided to present a special sequence entitled Women's. The first one of Omega Spreem's assistants that we're going to be looking at is the MMS Yoko, or the Buso Shinki-styled Yoko. This was actually bought for me by my friend Face Captain while we were rooming in Japan. He went out on the day of this toy's release and found exactly one, and bought it for me for Christmas because I had just watched Gurren Lagann. This was the very first posable Yoko toy, and for a while this was all we had. The posability's not bad. This is my only MMS toy, and I'm pretty impressed by the knees, most of all. They pull off a pretty decent double-jointed style knee without actually having two joints. And putting the cut joint at the top of her sock things was a good idea, although really it's so tight that you can't actually really get it to swivel before the hips do. The arm articulation isn't that bad, but it kind of comes apart here and there, although that's somewhat by design. The neck articulation, again, also pretty good, although the head can pop off, again, by design. The hands, I do like this additional joint, in addition to the wrist swivel. There is one small problem, though, aside from the parts that can come off, is that, generally, she has a kind of, patchwork look to her, I find, especially here on the boots, where these are separate pieces. It helps the look, and it's part of the aesthetic, but there's something just slightly off about it. When she was the only thing you could buy as far as Yoko action figures, that wasn't much of a big deal, but now it's sort of becoming more apparent to me. Also, the posable hair, again, it's just a single directional swivel, but it turns out pretty well, and then you rip her head off like that because the neck joint doesn't really stick in with a lot of friction. This is to facilitate the face swap gimmick I'll be showing you in a little while. Overall, though, not a bad toy. Can also stand on her own pretty well, which is impressive, and comes with a stand. This stand has additional segments. You can more or less customize the height and angle that this thing works at. I just use this for the case of standing because it's easy and I'm not really action posing my Yoko that much anymore. She also comes with her massive sniper rifle. Downside to this is that this strap, really, you can't sling it over her arm that easily in my experience, at least not in a way where it feels like this will come off again in one piece. You can also pull out the ammo cartridge. There's an alternate one here with a bullet actually showing for reloading poses. And there's an alternate thingamadoo here for when you want her to lie down and snipe stuff. Lie down and snipe stuff. That's all she does when she lies down, is snipe things. The way the face swap gimmick works is that you first have to decapitate Yoko, which would have made Gurren Lagann a lot more grisly than it was. Unless, of course, something happens in the movies I'm not aware of. Then you remove the front of her scalp. This is getting a little, creepy. By the way, if you want to leave this face on and give her the battle goggles scalp, you can do that as well, but really my preferred Yoko is the angry screaming with battle goggles version. I prefer my shelf to have lots of guns and action because that is twice as hot as swimsuit poses, I'm just gonna say right now. There is one other special action feature I can show you before I go on to the accessories. That's one that this toy is infamous for, and one that apparently, for some people, required durability checks. Now, the best way I can show you this is, let me go get my assistant. As you can see, there is a special piece of chest articulation, and with the help of Decade, I can show you that this toy does indeed have lifelike mammary action. Now, I've heard stories about this cracking on some people's version of this figure, and all I can really say is that if you cracked it, you played with it too much. That's really the only advice I can offer. So, if you do buy this toy, control yourself! In addition to gun-holding hands and open splayed hands, she also comes with fists, and that's really about it. Her hand selections are a little bit sparse when you use the ones with the gloves sculpted or painted on. I didn't really double-check that. When she's holding the gun, it's a lot more solid than I expected, especially after I messed with my friend's Buso Shinkis with the giant transforming fall-apart when you try to put everything together armor, at least the ones that I messed with. She can do a lot of decent gun poses. She can do a lot of cool, like, I'm about to shoot poses, or a lot of cool, like, I'm jumping through a window to shoot you after a few minutes sort of poses. The other problem being that the gun-holding hand here doesn't really hold the gun too well. This is a case where it's kind of like, I want this toy to do a lot of cool action poses, and I think that it was designed with action poses as a bit of a secondary bonus feature, and kind of slinky poses as the more primary action feature, and that's really exemplified by another set of accessories you get with this toy. Now, on the front, these are pretty obvious. These fill in all the copious peg holes and screw holes on the back of the toy. There's stickers here, you know, for different colors of them and stuff. That's all cool. Then I flip this over, and I get the bag of flesh. I don't know what to do with this! I can tell what some of these parts are, like there's alternate shins if you want her to look like she's not wearing shoes, and there's a bunch of different hands if you want it to look like she's not wearing gloves. And then there's all these other random discs of flesh. This is a case where I never really got into Buso Shinki, and I don't know what any of this is, so I've put it in the Ziploc bag, and I kind of keep it in the Ziploc bag. That's really about it. Overall, of the two posable Yoko toys I'm aware of, or at least two ones that are of this costume, this one has the slimmest proportions. If you're after that, that's pretty much the big draw here, unless you're also after the squishable mammaries. The joints on here, as I said, a lot of them actually work pretty well, although in lieu of a waist joint, she just has this joint underneath her rubber shirt. The only thing about the joints is, as I said, a lot of the parts where they're meant to be part swapped, the pegs don't really friction in as well as I would have hoped, although that's also maybe a case of the materials. Like, the hands here are of a much softer material, not quite as soft as that, but still rubbery enough, I'm guessing to avoid snapping. And I will say that I thought this hip motion was going to be way limited, and it's a lot more universal than I was expecting, although, as you saw, I do wish some of these hands were a little bit better suited to wielding the gun. Maybe I'm expecting too much of a G.I. Joe kind of playstyle out of this, and a bit less of a make the chest crack playstyle, but, you know, your mileage may vary. Overall, I'd say that if you're after this kind of toy, or if you want a Yoko that, I'm assuming with the bag of flesh, can interact with your Buso Shinkis and their accessories, then hey, you're set. But there is another choice, and it's called Revoltech Fräulein. However, to finish off on the MMS Yoko, I'd say if you can find it for a decent price and you really like Yoko, then why not? You also get one of the best accessories for a lot of other toys, that being your very own Buta. And that is really a big drawing point of the MMS Yoko. This little guy is cool, and he goes really well with the large Lagan toy I reviewed like 500 years ago on my old horrible camera. However, I'm not really sure if she's worth the large price she commanded back when I got her. I'm not sure what she's worth now, but she's definitely not a bad figure. Just maybe one that didn't age too well. Anyway, this has been internet personality Vangelus, and Spreem's women still have quite a bit to say. So I'll catch you in the next installment.